This is Friday, September the 20th, 2018. And today is a big day. Today's a big day because it's the start of Making Your Mark. Start of the Ryder Cup today, any golf fans here? Today's the day that I made a mistake in eating a massive Indian meal before coming round to Making Your Mark and starting to sweat. Sorry guys, the front row. But September 20th is a big day, but it falls in a really big month. September is a massive month. September is a month where lots of new things happen. There's two birthdays in our household, there's an anniversary in our household. But September's the time when we all go back to school again. But there's something bigger in September. Something that invades all of social media that you can't escape, and that's the outside the front door photograph. You know the one whenever, oh my wee child, he started P5 today. We're going to take a wee photograph outside the front door, and he can stand like this, or with a wee plaque saying first day P5, or a blackboard behind him, or something creative. You may have been the subject of a outside the front door photograph. I have to say that if you have been the subject of an outside the front door photograph, or you have been the taker of an outside the front door photograph, I have mocked you probably every day for the last 10 years, thinking, oh my goodness, not again. Not more photographs outside the front door. Until this September, when my Ollie boy started on turning 5, which meant that he started P1, and I'm like, September came, he put on a school uniform, and I'm like, come on to the front door! Then I take an outside the front door photograph. And I joined the weird gang of outside the front door photograph takers. Unfortunately, our wee son, if this is going to work, there we go. Our wee son doesn't take outside the front door photographs, he just does weird things like that. So he stood there posing with his mouth pulled in weird directions and his gelled hair, looking good, ready to go into Ballyclare Primary. Any Ballyclare Primary? Okay. Thank you. And I joined the outside the front door photograph gang. Now, to start off making your mark, not physically, just metaphorically and imaginary, I want you to imagine yourself taking your selfie. Taking a selfie of what you are, who you are. You don't know, right? You've taken your imagining selfie. When you join the outside the front door photograph club, it acts as this reminder and we touch of the heart. Because you're like, oh, look at our Ollie. He's got his Ballyclare Primary School jumper on. He's 5 years old, he can gel his hair. Because then you remember back 5 years and you think, I used to be able to hold Ollie from my fingertip to my elbow. And in 5 years, he's went from here to that weird looking fella on the screen. And as that is the outside the front door photograph club, you're like, oh my goodness. But then I want to fast forward 5 years. It's been 5 years since there to here. I want to fast forward 5 years and think, what's he going to be like when he's 10? If he's changed so much in 5, what's he going to change to be in the next 5? And I hope that he has changed. I hope that he's still at the same height. I hope that he can actually smile. I hope that his understanding of words is better. I hope that he can read. I hope that he can understand God more. I hope that he can understand himself more. I hope he can understand the world more. Because I look forward 5 years, I want to see change. When Paul writes the letter to the church in Philippi, and it's known as Philippians, he writes it because he wants to see maturity in them. He wants to see growth in them. If you were to look back in your invisible but yet imaginary selfie you just took, what were you like 5 years ago? I know Ollie's changed a lot in 5 years. What about you? Have you grown in your faith? Has your understanding of yourself changed? Has your understanding of the world changed? Have you grown in your understanding of the words of the Bible? Has your understanding of God changed? Have you grown in your faith this last 5 years? Or are you still the same? Is your outside the front door photograph exactly the same in your heart that it was 5 years ago? Or even maybe has it declined? You look back 5 years ago, back then life was easier. Back then I didn't have the issues I have now. Back then I could live for Jesus more. But now when I get to the upper end of school, it's so hard again, it's so difficult. There's so many issues, so many temptations, and I've given in to loads of them. I want to get better, but if I looked at myself 5 years ago, I was doing much better. Well, Paul wants to say to you, let's grow, let's mature. As he wrote this letter to the church in Philippi, a church that he loved, to help them grow and mature, he would say, well, let's fast forward 5 years. Where do you want to be then? How much God do you want to know then? When you're looking fast forward 5 years, some of you will be finished university. Some of you might be in university. Some people might be in a job. Some people might be in tech. Some people might be engaged. Some people might be married. Who knows? And life's totally changed, right? But where do you want to be with God in 5 years? Because in this letter, the letter that we're focusing on in this weekend, overnight, residential, whatever it's really called, we want to see, how do you grow? And as Paul writes this, he says this, that God has worked in you. He has worked in you. The last 5 years he's been working in you, but he's not finished with you yet. He has lots of things ready to make in your life and do through your life. He wants to carry it on until completion, and he's not there yet. God has so much in store for you. So if you look forward 5 years for your next outside the front door photograph in 5 years' time, your next imaginary selfie, you can only start to imagine what God wants to do in your life. As he looks to grow you, he wants to say this to you. In Philippians, as he does the same, he doesn't sit and wag his finger and say, well, if you want to grow, stop doing this, stop doing that. Don't do that anymore. Paul paints a massive picture of Jesus, and that's how you grow mature. In the letter of Philippians, he mentions Jesus 36 times, he mentions sin once. Just say it again. To grow mature in your heart, it's not about trying to change. It's about falling more in love with Jesus. So Paul talks about Jesus 36 times, and he just talks about sin once. So he then says, well, my life is all about Christ. In fact, he just goes and says that meant to live is Christ, Philippians 1:21. To live is Christ. And Paul has such a reason of saying that, because he writes this letter while facing extreme difficulty. He's falsely accused of wrongdoing, he's under house arrest, he's chained. And he thinks to himself, will I die before I see this church I love again? Will I be executed? But to live is Christ. Now you say, he'd love to go to heaven and be home with his beautiful Saviour, but he felt he's needed here on earth. But whatever happens, if he lives, he dies, if he comes to see them again, whatever happens, he says this: conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ. If he sees them again, if he doesn't get the opportunity again, the biggest thing and the first thing he wants to tell the church that he loves is, whatever happens him, whatever happens you, conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ. This is my first Making You Mark. It may be my last Making You Mark. I'll see how it goes. But if I don't see you again, if I want you to grow when you're outside the front door photograph, your imaginary selfie, the first thing I can say to you is, character comes first. Whatever happens you, conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ. That's what comes first. For 2 minutes, I'm going to turn into an American preacher. There's a guy from America called Francis Chan, and he does a very famous analogy, which I'm going to steal, which all the guys at Spark have already seen this. So anyway, he says this is your life, and it goes on and on. So just a picture, this is your life. The life that you get when you receive Jesus into your life, when you come to know him, and a man just goes on and on and on and on. It goes on for 20 meters, just like there we go. And this is how I think we have to view our lives, with the perspective of all this, if I can kick it down there, that goes on and on. It's our life. The life here on earth is this. We are given eternity, and we're here on this tiny planet for a tiny amount of time, but we focus our time on this. The only way we're going to realize how to live a life worthy of the gospel of Christ is to see, well, the gospel tells me that I have eternal life. The gospel tells me that I'm saved and I have a home in heaven. In fact, he says that in Philippians 3:20. When he says, our citizenship is in heaven, my home isn't here. Paul's perspective in life says, my home is not here. It's not Ballyclare. It's not Coleraine and all you Coleraine guys. My home's heaven. And I eagerly await my Saviour, Jesus Christ, from there. And he'll turn my lowly body into his glorious body. And that hope, that reality, this is such a small thing in comparison to the never-ending life that we receive in him. It gives him perspective on his life. So you have friends in your school, and you have family members, I'm sure, who will laugh at you because their perspective is this. Live for today. Live for the weekend. Come and do this. Have personal pleasure. Go and do what makes you feel good, what makes you feel right. Go and do whatever you want to do. But decisions here impact all of this. So as they mock you, you look at life differently and say, well, if I look at this and look back at this, firstly, their mocking doesn't hurt me as much. And secondly, you're stupid. Because I'm living for eternity. And I'm changing how I live now. So whatever happens to me in here, whatever goes on in here, whatever happens, I conduct myself, I live first for the gospel of Jesus Christ. Because look at what this gospel does to me. But while on this wee planet, character comes first. The gospel makes all this possible, but the gospel then must take control of this. It's not I live here and then I'll go here. This gospel must transform all of this. The gospel creates a new reality that deepens our understanding of this world and our place in it. The gospel just doesn't transform our relationships with each other, it transforms all of our circumstances, every single thing we ever go and do. While we are here, in this tiny little thing called life on earth, we should be living in a way that shows what we believe in. The Jesus that we so-called love is worth supreme value over this life. Let's ask yourself the question. How will your non-Christian friends, how will others in your school, how will your family members think it's worth their time and it's not worth yours? How will they think it's worth their actions to change their life if it's not worth yours? How will they think it's worth changing for if this gospel isn't worth or isn't worthy of changing our attitudes and our actions in whatever circumstance we find ourselves? There's a famous story. It's so famous it's probably a lie, but I'll tell it anyway. I was told it was truth, so why not retell it as truth? And it's about worth. There was a famous story which was as follows: that there was an American robbery about 15 years ago, and in the robbery, what made the robbery famous was they broke in at night time in this huge department store and didn't steal anything. What they did, they broke in and just messed it. But they messed it by swapping the price tags of things. So they swapped the price of an orange for the price of a TV. They swapped the price of a corner suite sofa for the price of a Christmas decoration. And swapped all the price tags in the huge department store and then left. Next morning, the manager and the staff turn up and looks, oh, everything looks all grand. How you going, staff? No bother at all. They walk in and they sit down and they go about their work because everything just seems fine. Nothing's out of place, really. And then the customers come in and they walk around. They're like, sofa's that price? TV's that cheap? I'll be having 5 of them. I don't even need 5. Just going to buy them anyway. A sofa, I will fit it in somewhere. And they come and buy sofas and TVs galore, and they're scanning it through the checkout, and the guys are like, what on earth? What's happening here? The manager goes around the shop, looks and realizes what has happened. The price tags have been swapped. The robbers broke in, swapped the price tags. What was worth a lot was now worth little. What was worth a little was now worth a lot. And that's exactly what we do. We rob Jesus of our affection by misplacing his worth and swapping the price tags. What should be worth everything to us ends up, I'll do it in the weekend. What should be worth our time and energy, of lots of other more important things first. For example, in my opinion, the praise of others can be of more worth than the praise of God. If you take an Instagram pic, put it up, and you got 5 likes in the first hour, no, I'll take it back down again. Because the praise of others is more worthy to you than the praise of God. How do you live your life according to what he wants you to do? I know what's more important. Getting a well-liked Instagram pic, that's much more important. The latest phone is of more worth than your Bible. We're all known as an obsessed generation who look in their phones and are constantly engaged in their phones. Therefore, I have to ask the question, are you constantly engaged in the Word of God? Or is a small object that looks like that more important to you than the Word of God? What is worth a little can now be worth a lot. And what should be worth a lot can now be worth little. So Paul says, you got the price tags wrong. What we should be doing in this tiny life that we live is living our lives in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ. How and why? How do we do that? Why should we do that? Let's break it down into 4 S's. You have a little bit of S. First one is stand firm. How do you live a life that's worthy of the gospel of Christ? How do you put character first, whatever happens? And we know we're in situations where there's very difficult times to put character first. First thing is to stand firm. It says this: I will know, so whenever you come and see you and hear about in my absence, I will know that you stand firm in the one Spirit. So here, a couple of things in this. One Spirit. There's a togetherness here. So one way of having good character in this time is to ask yourself a question. Do I only hang out with the guys who are like me? Do I only spend time with those that are like me? Or who like me? You see, this gospel is a for-all gospel. This gospel is a for-the-world gospel. If we are only interested in caring for the ones that are like me, then I think you're not living in a life that's worthy of the gospel. But the biggest thing is here is if you are to stand firm, the opposite of that is falling. So therefore, it's about taking that stand. So whatever happens, to conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ, whatever happens, take a stand. You might be in a situation where you're in a school where you have to take a stand for Jesus. The gospel is being attacked. And it's much easier to fall or move away. Sit down. Take a stand. It's worthy of it. You may be in a situation at a house party where you have to take a stand for the gospel. You may maybe out in the weekend. Take a stand for the gospel. You may be with your girlfriend or your boyfriend. You take a stand for the gospel. This is the life here. This is the gospel life that we are given here. Live a life worthy of that gospel. He doesn't want you to fall. He doesn't want you to struggle and stumble. He doesn't want you to do that. But put the price tag in the right place and stand firm together with other people who may not be like you, and take that stand together. And if you stand firm, the next thing to do is to strive. Strive means to fight vigorously, to give it your all. The Bible would put it, in another part of the Bible, to deny yourself and take up your cross. It says there, so we stand firm in one Spirit, striving together as one for the faith of the gospel. This is worth a fight. This gospel, this beautiful Jesus that Paul paints this picture of 36 times in the whole of Philippians. So we'll get to know more about Jesus this whole overnight residential retreat, weekend, whatever it's called. We will. But sometimes what happens is you think, I've heard about Jesus lots of times. I've heard about him. It doesn't really matter to me anymore. I'm sorry, but you're wrong. You need the gospel now as much as you did whenever you became a Christian. You'll need the gospel in 5 years' time more than you need it now. You'll need the gospel more in 20 years' time than you need it now. So you need to fight vigorously. Deny yourself. Take up your cross. And the great thing with Paul is he can point to Jesus, who in the next chapter we're not really looking at and studying will give a description of Jesus by saying, who was in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, but made himself nothing, being found in human likeness, in appearance as a man. He denied himself. He was in very nature God, and he gave up those rights to become like me and like you. So is there an opportunity in your life, and whatever happens in your life, that you need to deny yourself? Thinking, okay, I might deserve some of this, but I don't need to take it. I need to go out of my way here, or I'm going to deny myself what my body is telling me it wants, but for the worth of the gospel, it's not. And take up your cross. See this, obviously the example of Jesus, as he is whipped 39 times because 40 would have killed him, as his body's ripped apart to leave him broken and battered, then On the point of death, he's asked to carry a cross. 18 stones, so they say. To carry a cross on a massive journey. And when he gets to that point, he's been nailed on that cross, feet and hands, trying to breathe every breath by pushing himself up. And that's only the physical pain, never mind the spiritual pain that was the absolute proper pain he received by the judgment of our sin on his body, where the best substitution the world has ever seen, where our wrong is replaced with his right. We get his right by giving him our wrong. He denied himself. He took up his cross. Will you? Because this gospel is worth living for. Character comes first. You might look at this world and think there's so much that needs change. Not me, by the way. I'm okay. There's so much stuff that needs change, so I'm going to change it by social action. I'm going to do lots of good stuff, which is good. I'm going to tell lots of people about Jesus. Again, that's very good. Nothing wrong with both those things. They're really good. But I believe character comes first. The next one, the next third is says this, serving together as one for the faith of the gospel, without being frightened in any way by those who oppose you. This is a sign to them that they will be destroyed, but that you will be saved, and that by Christ. Again, you know this, but you're living in opposition. People in your school, and possibly in your family, possibly in your friendship group, in fact, I hope in your friendship group, hate Jesus. People in your school will hate you because you love Jesus. You live in opposition. There's plenty of things in this world that will frighten you. I don't really like heights. I don't really like deep water. So sometimes on summer camps, we're going out to cliff jumping. You jump off cliffs that are really high, jumping into water, which is really deep. And I start to freak out a little bit. But as a leader, of course, I'll do it, but my heart is racing. You might be afraid of, I don't know, spiders, clowns, silence, other weird things that you can be afraid of anything these days. I don't know what you're afraid of, but there's one thing it says you should not be afraid of, and that is opposition. Probably the thing that fears you the most you should not be afraid of. Why? It's a sign to them. Because it depends on what you live for. If you start living for this, living for the gospel, living for the good news, living for the life that you've been given, that's a sign to them that oppose you. That you know what? He's living for something. He or she is living for something better and bigger. And that sign to them is that you are saved. And the sign to them they're destroyed. Because they live thinking life ends here. Right there. Whereas you're like, I'm sorry, man. No, it doesn't. So if you live for this, and they live for here, there's opposition. We don't need to be afraid of that. Stand firm in it. Strive, fight while you're in it. Fight vigorously while you're there. Because if you do both of those things, it's a sign. But fear can result in giving in, right? That's not worth fighting for. Fear can lead us to give in to your morals, give in to a lifestyle, give in to an argument. Fear can let you let go of the truth and just settle. Oh yeah, maybe they're all right. Maybe I'll not read the Bible and I'll just believe what they say. And I'll settle for this average life. Fear can lead you to blend in when you're born to stand out. So stand firm. You will strive, fight on. The result of that is it's a sign, but unfortunately that means you'll suffer the last days. says, "For it has been granted to you on behalf of Christ, not only to believe in him, but also to suffer for him." What it says there is, "been granted to you on behalf of Christ to suffer for him." In other words, God allows suffering. That's one to ask and read it. But there's a gift of suffering. Because life is hard, right? Life is difficult. I want to give a couple of examples. One is my hero. Was my hero, is my hero, is my dad. My dad is the person that brought me to Jesus. My dad is the person that inspired me to want to be a youth worker. My dad is my hero. My dad, about 17 years ago, walked into hospital because he had a sore back. Left hospital in a wheelchair. Disabled from the waist down. Operation went wrong. And it's very difficult to see this person who you put up here come out half the weight he was when he came in, and with none of the mobility he had before he went in. But my dad's character, through that suffering, how he kept Jesus first, kept putting Jesus first, in spite of suffering, brought many people to Jesus. Because of his character in the suffering. So you will suffer, and God will allow that suffering. Your character, which comes first, can actually be used to bring people to Jesus. So don't look down thinking, why? Look up and say, thanks, and here's how I'm going. I remember going for a walk one time. When I say walk, it was a torture. We did a sponsored walk for Youth for Christ last year, which is walking up Slave Donard, one of the Mourne Mountains. You know you're on a long walk when the walk finishes, when you walk through the clouds. Okay, I'm pretty high up here. I just walked through a cloud. It's pretty impressive. And so I started thinking, this walk will be no bother. You know, there's other people from our organisation who I'll not mention names because a lot of the guys here know who they are. And I thought, if they walked it, I can walk it. Susan McLean. So I thought to myself, I could do this no bother. So I walked, and about an hour into it, I'm like, I am wrecked. And I can really pull myself up the mountain at the end, and you get to the top, get to the peak, you climb through the clouds, and you look down. And all of a sudden, like, the roads seem so small. Those wee tiny wee cars, those wee dots of people you can't even see. All of a sudden, your perspective on life totally changes. We're so small. On that journey of suffering, we need to have that perspective. This is our life. On earth. This is our life with Jesus. All of a sudden, this suffering isn't the end of it. All of a sudden, the suffering can produce in us character and decisions that will impact us. All of a sudden, as the Bible says, light and momentary troubles are achieving for us a glory that far outweighs them all. All of a sudden, the perspective needs to change. So when you stand firm, when you strive and fight difficult and fight vigorously, and that will be a sign to those who oppose you that they are destroyed and you are saved, in that suffering, keep the right perspective. Walk your own mountain and realize that life is smaller and shorter than you think. All this happens when we see the worth and beauty of Jesus. We see the joy of living for Jesus and not for ourselves. We see the joy of living for his gospel and not for ourselves. Jesus mentioned 36 times, sin mentioned once. There's a beauty of Jesus out there that's going to hit us this weekend like a brick wall, and we need to realize how beautiful he is and how incredible he is. This is the gospel. The gospel that says, you know what, I am pretty insignificant. You know what, I don't have much to offer. You know what, I am messed up. But Jesus is going to take hold of me and give me life which lasts forever. Jesus is going to take on his example, take on his own life so that we don't have to, that we get his right for our wrong. That is a gospel that is worth everything, that whatever happens, conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ. Because his worth, Jesus, is greater than the affection of others. So why does it not get our heart? It's greater than the affection of others, therefore it's worthy of our heart. It's greater than the grades that we'll get, so it's worthy of our time. He's greater than the moment that we can have, so it's worthy of our character. Whatever happens here, whatever happens here, conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ. Whatever happens here. Let me pray. Lord, I thank you. Thank you that your gospel impacts everything. Thank you it's not just that I became a Christian, now it's all done kind of gospel. A gospel that changes our lives, whatever happens. Help everyone here, I started making your mark, to be firstly thinking character. Whatever happens in their lives, whatever is going on in their lives, God, I pray that they'll pursue Christ-like character. Help them to replace what they think is worth their time and energy with what is truly worth their time and energy. Help them to swap back in those price tags. God, I pray that they will stand firm. They will strive on. There'll be a sign to those who oppose them that they are saved. And in that suffering, they will see the right perspective. Because whatever happens here, you're worth it. You're worth living for. You're worth conducting ourselves in a manner that is worthy of the gospel of Christ. Amen.